Oh, hey, hopefully unexpected. This is take 3. Not that you would know that, but I wanted to respond immediately. I really appreciated your video, and I keep using that word, telling people I appreciate the video. I liked your video, everything about it. Let's see. First of all, I'd like to say I thought you restated my argument correctly immediately. It's almost as if your video is to say, okay, so what? Which I think is great. Again, if I'm right that with the definitions I provided, that's a logical conclusion, then I would expect a lot of people to say, okay, so what? I do understand that one of the reasons so many people got upset is because they feel I've misstated. I've not correctly stated what they mean when they say I give my life meaning, and that's fine. I'll address that in another video. I didn't use the words intrinsic or inherent in my argument. You mentioned those words. I think that would have helped a little bit, maybe not a lot, but a little bit. It is the point that I was making, and I was trying to do it by saying existence, not your life, not individual things, but I should have said intrinsic, and then maybe we'd had almost no disagreement, but that's fine. I appreciate that you were able to understand the argument. At least, some people were. One of the things you said, and I hope you'll find this interesting, and that is you said, hey, if you were to follow your logic through, talking to me, if I was to follow my logic through, it seems that if no intent, then this creative intellect, and I keep trying not to say God, where everyone, do you know that I never said God in that video? And it's like these exchanges. I mean, there's one guy who he totally responds to tell me, how could you possibly say that just because you believe there's a God that you have meaning, or that you have to have God, and I've said very clearly, hey, I'm just talking about intelligence, whether it would be an alien intelligence or just an intelligence that evolved before ours did, that is responsible for the things that we perceive. The point would be exactly the one I'm trying to make. So but I'll address the God idea because I thought it was great. By my definition, if I follow my logic through, then God would have no such meaning as I defined it. And I want you to know that makes perfect sense to me. I would agree with that he wouldn't have meaning in the sense that any created thing would be. It really kind of hinges on that uncaused cause or the first mover argument. I mean, if whatever that first thing is, it doesn't have meaning in the sense as I defined it. It would not. I don't know how much that means, but I wanted you to know that I see that point. Now, here's the first thing I think you said that I would disagree with. At least my initial thought would be I don't agree. And that was you said, and I want to be careful, I'm not sure what you said, if you were saying it is this way or if we follow this through, we might find this to be the case. But you said, so let's just go with if this creative intellect has no meaning, then existence itself has no meaning. And I first thought I would say, no, that's not a reasonable assumption. It would simply be a matter of, we can discuss how intent came on the scene, but at whatever point intent shows up, then you now have the possibility for meaning. So if this uncaused cause had intent, then everything it created would have meaning. Now, let's just say there's all kinds of things that have no beginning, then those things would not have meaning by that definition. But anything that is the result of creative intellect, sorry about that, I always forget to turn the phone off. It's going to ring one more time. But anyway, none of those things would have meaning. They just simply have always existed. You said something else, and I know you were just trying to be gracious to me and my thinking and try to understand, a theistic worldview. But you said something like, hey, even if you're right, if you believe you have meaning and I don't, or if I have meaning because I'm a theist and you don't because you're an atheist, then no, I would not hold that. I would not suggest that. I would not agree that that's a possible reality. And by that I simply mean I'm never suggesting that a theist could have a meaning and an atheist could not. I'm only talking about when I try to assume either worldview and follow it through. I'm thinking, hey, if I'm an atheist, I don't think I would conclude meaning to existence. And if I'm a theist, then I'm saying, then I would logically conclude, since there's some kind of creative intellect behind all this stuff, that there's a meaning. That's all I'm saying. You went on to say, even if a theist was right and life had a meaning, his existence had a meaning, he wouldn't have any control over it. I agree 100%. Just as it would be no major revelation to follow a worldview through to say, well, there's no inherent meaning in things that have always existed. It's the same simple logical conclusion. I must have meaning, or life must have meaning, if there's intellect behind my existence. Doesn't mean that you can do anything about it, change it, supersede it. I would demand, I would give a theist the same kind of argument if they were suggesting that because there's a creative intellect and I have a meaning and I get to decide what that is. I mean, that's as laughable to me as the other. I don't suggest that. I agree with you. Now, the difference would be, and then this is kind of where I see things going off, for a theist who's concluded there's meaning, I think then it's logical for a pursuit of that meaning, to try to discern what that meaning might be or what the purpose behind existence might be. At least that endeavor is logical. They're not being inconsistent by going on and pursuing that. Whereas in an atheistic worldview, I'm thinking, hey, that matter's resolved, and that's, I think, where this idea about, well, maybe I need to give myself meaning comes up. And so that's that. You'd said we're not that different from each other. Man, people don't get it, but that's kind of, that's one of the big points I'm trying to make. Remember, my video started because I got tired of people, at least in my mind, insinuating that only theists have, have delusional thinking, or believe things that can't be proven, or think irrationally, and the distinction between people who think rationally and irrationally is what they think about God. I mean, that's silly. That's absurd. So that was what was motivating me. I think we're very much the same. Again, I want to be really, really clear. This was interesting. I do not believe it would be logical to say that a theist has meaning and an atheist doesn't, or a theist's life is somehow more enjoyable than an atheist's isn't. I wonder that sometimes, but you can't. There would be no difference. Please understand that I'm saying the two worldviews can't be right. I said this by accident in one of the earlier videos, that you can't pee and not pee at the same time, and that's not what I meant to say, but that's the logic of it. Logic is you cannot have pee and not pee as the same statement. That's what I'm saying. Between the two worldviews, the atheistic worldview and the theistic worldview, we can't both be right. We could probably both be wrong, but we can't both be right. And that's the simple point. But if the theistic worldview is accurate, everybody's got meaning and nobody has any say over what it is. You can all chase that meaning, try to understand it, and I think that's noble and right and all those things. And then if the atheistic worldview is right, then talk about, then everything else, that a theistic worldview is leading a person to do. That's all a mistake, you know what I mean? That would be the case. So not much difference between us. That really was the motivation behind the initial video. So thanks for yours. Appreciate it. Bye.